Number one fan.
Welcome to this week's edition of Tracking the Wolves with your voice of the Wolves. That's me, Ben Root. Let's look back at an historic week in Northern sports. We start with a record-breaking NSU volleyball team. Ladies had a jittery start to the week as they lost their first sets of the season, but they picked up the win in 5 at Moorhead's Place, and things got better from there. After getting that scare out of the way, Northern ladies recorded their first ever win over the top-ranked team in the nation as they took down the Duluth squad in straight sets at Walks Arena Friday. Next day, there was no letdown as NSU swept St. Cloud, moving their record to 13-0 on the season. That 13-match winning streak is a new school record. Because that's not enough, the team also saw setter Drew Smith and outside hitter Kelsey Chambers repeat as Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference Players of the Week for their setting and offense, respectively. Chambers ended up hitting .462 last week with 51 kills, ended up with a career-high .647 hitting percentage against that Bulldog squad. Smith, meanwhile, leads the nation with her 13.32 assists per set. Last week was 13.81 per set for the week. This is her third Setter of the Week award in 4 weeks of hardware. Now, just like at the volleyball match Friday, NSU saw an amazing turnout for the Gypsy Days football game Saturday at Swisher Field. On the downside, though, Sioux Falls came to play, and they show why. They're ranked number 7 in the nation. They picked up the win 28-10. Wolves started the scoring, though, with a short field goal, added a late touchdown toss from Kyle Levan to Cody Kraft, but the Cougars' quick offense burned the Northern D on a number of plays. They piled up 274 yards rushing and a couple of TDs on the turf. On the bright side, though, Wolves' most effective game rushing the ball as Nick Truan ended up with 108 yards on 21 carries. Defense was led by the 13 tackles of Devin Olson, and Matt Thorson ended up notching his first INT of 2015. Meanwhile, in the Twin Cities, the NSU cross-country teams did battle in the famous Roy Griak Invite Saturday. NSU women took 16th place overall, and the men ended up in 29th. Freshman Tanner Peltier ended up leading the way for the Wolves in the men's 8K, and junior Dakota Bullen finished first among Northern's female runners in the women's 6K. She was the only NSU runner to finish top 20 overall, taking 14th. Finally, your Northern soccer squad ended up splitting a couple of road matches over the weekend. Ladies were led by Darian Leschewski on Saturday. Redshirt freshman out of Florida recorded her first collegiate hat trick with a 3-1 win at Wayne. Allie Macdonald assisted on a couple of those goals. Anna Bondi had a helper on the other, and the team was not able to record a win the next day against their travel partner as they lost there to Augustana Sunday 2-0. After a scoreless first half, the 23rd ranked Vikings got on the board twice after that 82nd minute of play. NSU was outshot in that loss 22-4, including a 9-4 disadvantage in those shots on goal. That's a check of last week's action for the Maroon and Gold. We'll talk about some soccer with our guest today on Tracking the Wolves.
Being part of a great team means you know your role and you work your role to the best of your ability. If you're consistently going to show up and be your best, you're going to be part of that team. You can see the success they have over time. It's not just 1 year flash in the pan. It's consistent success over time, which makes them great. And that's where the work ethic comes in. The ability to come into work, do the same thing repeatedly day after day after day, and putting your best foot forward is going to separate you from the rest.
Choose the experts. Choose Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to Tracking the Wolves with yours truly, voice of the Wolves, Ben Root, and time to focus on some soccer here on this edition. Joining us on the program, a couple soccer players for your Wolves. We've got Allie Macdonald out of Hartford, a senior on the squad, and a redshirt freshman coming up from Cape Coral, Florida. Darian Leschewski is on the show today with us too. How are you doing, ladies?
We're good. Good. How are you?
Good. Pretty good. Well, you've got a few games under your belt into conference play and everything here. Looking at the first few games here, record-wise, a little bit over 400, 4-3-1 overall, 2-2-1 in conference, and you're finally done riding the bus everywhere, so you get to play some home games. Yes. Looking at the first few matches, how do you feel you two played?
Individually, I think I've played pretty well. I've been put in a different position, kind of going back and forth between my usual position to the new one this year, and just working on making myself better every day.
Yep, same. Just working hard out there and trying to do my best for the team.
Now, Allie, are you moved more to the midfield, or what kind of the?
I was playing outside mid, and now I'm kind of moving into the central mid spot, going back and forth between those two positions. So.
Okay, and you've had quite a few assists this season so far. I think 1 goal, if I remember right off the top of my head. Has it been that you're helping out more, or how does it affect as far as your, what you're doing on the field out there for those of us that don't follow it too much?
My assists have come from both positions, but yeah, the central mid gives me a little bit more room to be more dynamic. I can go either way instead of going straight down the line like I was before, but lets me be a little bit more dynamic and see the field more.
Okay. And Darian, you're coming off of a hat trick this past weekend, getting more playing time, obviously being a redshirt freshman and everything. How's the adjustment been, after, redshirting your first year and now getting out there and, well, obviously performing well last weekend?
Yeah, it was tough adjusting because I tore my calf last year, so I kind of have problems with it, but when I'm out there, I just try to forget about it and work with the team.
Now, what did you do last year to kind of work through that? You just have to be laid up for a while and just not work on upper body, or?
Yeah, I couldn't do anything.
Man, how long was the recovery for that?
Almost a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're back and healthy now for the most part, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Coming up from Florida here to Aberdeen, we've had a few people do that, but some of mostly indoor sports. You're obviously out there and getting into the cold weather, cooler weather right now. What's it been like so far, and what do you expect? Did you go on the road with that team before? Or?
Yeah, I traveled with all of them.
Okay. Have you played in cold temps before? Or?
Not this cold.
Really? Do you have to make any adjustments as far as how you play, or is it just kind of deal with the sting?
Yeah, it's just kind of deal with it. I don't know. The ball probably sting more when it hits you in this cold weather rather than the cold weather in Florida.
You've both played in warm weather too on occasion. Even there's warm weather here in South Dakota on occasion, a couple days a year. Do you notice a difference, Allie, like when the season goes through? Having played for a few years here, if does it slow the pace down? I would think maybe it does stuff like that too, because baseball, you talk about home runs are easier in the summer, than the fall and what have you.
Yeah, I think it slows it down just a little bit. I think it's harder to get your legs going when it's a little bit colder, but it's definitely just a mental thing. You just have to get through the cold, the bite from the ball when it hits your leg. Yeah, it's terrible, but you have to get through it.
I think it's probably tougher for, teats in net because you're not moving around as much. At least you guys get to be warm, I suppose.
Yeah.
Of course, she has the big gloves. Maybe that helps. But now, how did each of you end up here playing for Coach Kehm?
I was looking around in this area just because I'm from South Dakota, and Coach came and watched me during state soccer my senior year, and I came up here and I visited and I did a recruiting trip with the girls, and they kind of just sold me. It's more about the girls and the family bonding that you see when you come up here. So.
Yeah, I never would have thought I would have come to South Dakota to play soccer, but Coach Kehm came down in Florida, saw me at a tournament. I kept in contact with him after that. I came in my recruit trip, and just like Allie said, I fell in love with the girls and the environment around. It's really good.
Well, you guys go to a lot of different places. Of course, you got 6, 7, 8 matches under your belt this year. Most of it on the road, except for a couple here in town. What's your favorite place to play on the road?
Ooh, I really enjoy going to Duluth. I think that community is just really gorgeous to see, but I really like going to the Sioux Falls area as well, just because that's kind of my hometown and I get a lot of fans there, and that's just kind of home for me, but I like playing all over. So. Yeah.
Well, this year was my first time going to Duluth, and it was really pretty, and I enjoyed the environment around there too, playing around there.
Okay. Is that do you play on this football field there?
Yeah,
So
the
it's
turf football field.
Okay.
It's a nice stadium.
As long as the wind's not blowing off the lake too much there, it's not too bad. And if you go early in the season, then you're good. How about on the road, as far as best places to go eat on the road? Do you get to check out any place good?
That pizza place we went to
in Fargo. That was good.
That was a good place.
Rhombus Guys, I think it was called. That was really good.
Okay.
But we also, this last weekend, we went to Texas Roadhouse,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is always good.
We love Texas Roadhouse.
And as soccer players, I think soccer, certain sports, you get to eat more, it seems like, than other ones too. So,
Oh, yeah.
you're running all the time out there, so
Yeah.
that helps too. What are your majors, and how is school going so far?
I'm a senior special education major with a psych minor, and it's going good. It's kind of weird because reality is starting to hit and student teaching is starting to come, and I've decided to do student teaching in my hometown or around that area in a rural town, so I'll be leaving Aberdeen in February. So.
Okay. How about you, Darian?
I'm majoring in sports marketing. I only have a couple classes with it. I'm still getting my generals out of the way, but for the most part, I like it. It's
that's
interesting.
Fun classes. A lot of student athletes in those classes.
yeah.
Too, it seems like. So, any coaching interest for either of you? Because I mean, you got the teaching, you got the sports marketing. So.
Yeah, I actually had a coaching minor, but I dropped it. But I plan on coaching, whether it be soccer or basketball or track, what I did in high school. So.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind coaching either, like keeping up with sports.
Okay, then you can pick what's on the radio and maybe not play Nickelback or something. Coach like. As we wrap things up here, talking to Allie Macdonald and Darian Leschewski, the soccer squad. I always ask if you're going on a road trip or you're stuck on an island, whatever it is, you got to kill a lot of time. What would be 3 books, movies, or CDs you would take to pass the time? You can pick any combo if you like.
Oh dear. Well, I'd have to go with my favorite movie, which is 50 First Dates. I've always loved that movie since I was little. And then a book. Oh man, I do read a lot, but not in the school year. I don't know. Movies. Probably a Beyonce CD would be up there, and another movie.
Right, a movie.
Probably White House Down is another good one.
Okay. How about you, Darian?
I'm with you on the Beyonce CD. And probably gotta go with the classic Kicking and Screaming movie.
It's a great one.
And Remember the Titans is a good one too.
Okay.
I'm into the sports movies.
heard that one a few times.
Yeah.
Kicking and Screaming, that's the first time I've heard
Oh,
anybody
that's a good
mention
one.
that. That is an underrated film, though. That's a good one. So, thanks for coming on the show, and
Thank
good
you.
luck here in town this weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks. There's Allie and Darian talking some soccer here as we get set for some home contests finally here in the first weekend of October. We'll talk about that upcoming schedule right here on Tracking the Wolves.
We know you want family-friendly sporting events.
Sporting events where you can be comfortable
And entertained in a positive environment. Watching great individuals and teams compete.
with commitment, effort, and good sportsmanship. That's what the Division II Game Environment Initiative is about.
Be a part of the excitement and find out why.
These student athletes say with pride,
I chose
I chose
Division II.
Welcome back to Tracking the Wolves here with yours truly, Ben Root, talking soccer here on this edition of Tracking the Wolves. And joining us, head coach of the squad, Coach Steve Kehm with us. How you doing, Coach?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Well, a few games under your belt here, 8 contests so far this season. Looking back to the start of the year, how would you describe the season at this point?
It's gone okay. You know, I think every coach everywhere is a competitive person and would prefer to be undefeated. So that was obviously would be better, but I think it's okay where it's at. I think we underperformed in a couple of matches, but for the most part, we played to our potential. So I'm happy with where we're at.
Looking at the game so far, what would be the 2 biggest surprises you would say? One a good surprise, one maybe not so good.
Well, I think our inability to score goals for a stretch there was a bit of a surprise, and that's something we were looking forward to. And then I think real big surprise was getting back-to-back hat tricks and a couple of wins. I mean, it's rare enough to get it, and then to have it happen in back-to-back games for 2 different players is pretty exciting. And obviously, you know, it's a shot in the arm and good for the team. And anytime you're scoring goals, obviously your opportunity to win increases. So.
Yeah, I mean, you had gone first 7 games without scoring 3 goals or giving up 3 goals. Everything was 2 or less, and then you get the back-to-back hat tricks. Was there something that changed out there strategically, or was it just that's how it goes?
I mean, yeah, we did make a couple of changes, but I think I'd attribute it more to just the ball bounce right, and those girls did a great job of finishing that day. They're always going to get looks at the goal and get opportunities, but, you know, keeping the ball out of the net is a lot harder than putting it in, and they both just had really good days and were able to do that for us.
First one of the hat tricks was at Duluth. Anna Bondi, not totally surprising. It's a name we've mentioned, you know, last couple of years. Then Darian Leschewski this past weekend does it in Wayne. Is that a name we need to be more familiar with here as a youngster?
You know, last year as a freshman, she came in, and in the first game of the year, she tore her calf muscle, so she was able to receive a medical red shirt, and she's a red shirt freshman for us this year. But we're counting on her to score some goals, so I think you'll hear her name quite often.
Torn calf. That sounds like painful, I guess.
Yeah.
Mildly.
And it lingered. She really wasn't healthy until the end of March, so it was a long time coming.
Allie Macdonald, strong start to the year as well, 3 assists and a goal. She's a senior. You've got quite a few seniors, some we mention more often than others because of different positions and what have you. Of course, we're not talking about defenders a ton.
Right.
Is she one of your kind of senior leaders, or who's leadership, I guess, on this
Yeah,
team?
I think she is. I think that all 7 of the seniors do a great job with that. And as you mentioned, I mean, they may not all be brought up as frequently as others, but if you're going to be a college athlete, particular, you know, a student athlete that sticks with it for 4 years, and all those kids have part-time jobs, to be able to do that, it says a lot about you. It's a lot about your character, your ability to manage time, you know, to be a good student, to perform at that level. So, I mean, I think that class as a whole is a great example of what NSU soccer is and should be.
And then you get, Leschewski, like you mentioned, had a red shirt, so even 5 years for some people possibly.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's a long time. Well, speaking of seniors, another one that we have talked about a bit is Brittany Teets. She was on one of the episodes a couple weeks back and earned a Goalkeeper of the Week award for her performance from the NSIC. How big was it to get her back from where she was health-wise? Because kind of a scary situation, it sounded like.
Yeah, critical. I mean, at that point, we weren't worried about her as a soccer player, but more as a person. We really didn't have the information that we needed to know what was going on. But you know, it had been mentioned to her by some employees at the hospital that she perhaps was going to lose her senior season. So to get her back 3 or 4 games into it was obviously huge, and to have her back healthy like she is and able to perform at the level that she is just a blessing, and we're all really thankful for that.
Was that a situation where the doctors were kind of recommending what you should do as far as playing time, or how do you kind of handle how to get her out there, or how much to play her and everything?
Well, when she was released from the hospital, she was on, you know, just a prescribed number of days where she shouldn't be a part of any activity until it was going to be safe for her to come back. And then being the kid that she is, with the work ethic that she has and the determination that she possesses, she was able to fight through that and get herself back quicker than they imagined she might.
I'll stepping in for her when she was out, Stacey Cavill out of Australia, getting her some playing time the first 4 games. How much is that going to help her?
This is going to help her immensely, and it worked out well. And that's why it's so important to have a little bit of depth, because Britt came back, and now Stacey's torn a ligament in her hand. But we also have Justine Charles, who's a very capable player as well. So having, you know, 2 goalkeepers is nice. Having 3 is a luxury, and we're certainly happy that we have that this year.
So she ends up injured. Is she out for the year, or how's the hand injury?
You know, it's hit and miss. She buddy taped her gloves today and gave it a go, but we'll have to see. We're not sure.
Okay. Is it a big adjustment for her playing here from Australia, or how's she kind of adapted?
But she's just a great kid, and she's very adaptable, and she's a crowd favorite. Everybody loves her. But she did have 2 years of junior college experience in California, so she'd been in the States for a while.
Okay. Would you have possibly played some of your, you know, backup goalkeepers in those early games anyhow to try and get them some experience with Teets being a senior year?
Yeah, I think, you know, we played everybody in the exhibition matches, and then we'd have seen. But it's always a game-by-game thing. Who's hot, who has the hot hand, and we're going to put them out there and put the best team forward.
4-3-1 record right now as we talk to head coach of the Wolves soccer squad, Coach Kehm. 4-3-1, 2-2-1 in conference, so you're 6th in conference right now. This weekend, Concordia coming to town, and then Mankato. How big are these games right now at this point of the season?
I think, you know, they're absolutely critical. If you look at the table and the league standings, there's a whole bunch of us that are kind of logjam between 4 and 14. So I think every game is critical. For us, we choose to kind of put all our eggs in one basket and focus on Saturday and get through that. And then, you know, maybe post-game Saturday, talk a little bit about Sunday's opponent, not much. And then meet prior to the game on Sunday and start focusing on the Sunday opponent. So regardless of where they fall, it's got to be all about Saturday for us when we prepare throughout the week.
Well, looking at those standings, like you mentioned, some separation. It seems like top 4 teams are all without a loss right now. And then you have that log jam you're talking about. Do you expect it to stay that way? Are those 4 teams kind of a step above, or how do you look at the standings?
Well, you know, we have 2 undefeated and 1 with a draw. And those 3 teams, you know, they've traditionally performed very well. I could see that. I could see the 3 of them staying in the top 3. I could see maybe someone moving in there. But I'll tell you, I don't think that anyone in the league is out of the chase yet. And in a 16-team league where you take 8 teams to the playoffs, that makes them a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was going to say 8 teams. This is about as comparable as kind of comparable to the volleyball match right now, or standings where you have 8 teams that are nationally ranked or getting votes. I mean, you're really duking it out.
Yeah. Speaking of volleyball, what a great year they're having. Fantastic for them. Undefeated, big win over Duluth. Kudos to them.
Well, we talk about movies quite a bit. Favorite sports movie as we get close to wrapping things up? I know you probably go Lebowski, but I don't know if
No. I mean, I have quite a few sports movies. I don't know. If I had to choose one, I'd probably go with the Black Sox scandal.
Okay. No, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I should watch that.
You really need to get that. That's a great sports film.
And I was talking to some of your players, and they mentioned there was a place in Fargo to eat. What's your favorite food place on the road during the season?
And I'm indifferent. Whatever they want to do, as long as it fits within our budget, I kind of let them decide and try to keep it, keep it reasonable, but also want them to enjoy themselves and have a good time. But they're referring to Rhombus Guy's Pie in Fargo, which is a great place, and they really enjoyed that.
And they got a free plug, so there you go.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, and good luck this week. Oh, the one other thing I was going to ask you about that popped in my head walking over here. I know we've talked intermittently, or people buzz about the possibility of the new football stadium, which is, still a ways off if it were to happen or anything. But has anybody ever approached you about, joining with the football stadium and having a one-stop shop, putting the soccer field on there too, and your thoughts about, having playing on turf instead of the grass that we still have here?
Yeah, well, they have spoke with me about it, and I'm all about, whatever's best for the university and stuff. If there was any way to maintain both, that would be ideal. I'm a bit of a purist and a traditionalist, and I think the game should be played on grass. But if we were to get a brand new, super fantastic stadium, and it works better to have us playing there, we wouldn't be opposed to that. We'd be fine with that.
Not going to complain about that.
No, not at all.
Nice place. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Head coach, your soccer squad, Steve Kehm, here on Track of the Wolves. We'll look at the upcoming schedule in a bit, right here on this edition of Track of the Wolves.
NCAA championships are something special.
Filled with memories we will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
We ask that you cheer hard for your institutions.
Acting responsibly and courteously towards those around you.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, enjoy the game, and let's provide our student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans the respect they deserve.
Welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. Let's check what's on the agenda next week for your Northern squads. First up, more volleyball action this weekend, this time on the road. NSU is going to head out to Crookston for a Friday match before battling in Bemidji this Saturday. Wolves cross-country teams are going to go off-roading at the SDSU Classic Saturday in Brookings. Soccer squad finally gets to play again at Jerdy Field. They'll bring in Concordia University St. Paul this Saturday, and then Mankato comes to town on Sunday. Mankato right now top-ranked team in the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference. And finally, it's the last of those night games for your NSU football team this Saturday. Wolves are going to move on up to Minot for a clash of winless teams. Kickoff slated for 6 o'clock with yours truly at ESPN 1420 1071 and on the web at espnaberdeen.com. That's going to do it for this episode of Track of the Wolves. Thanks for tuning in. To stay up to date on all the latest in Northern sports, join me again next week. But until then, as always, go Wolves.